This is going to sound like so much hate, and I swear it's not. Keenan, I led off with the top moments. I'm going to let you do your worst moments of the year. So I'll let you lead off of that.
So I went through and I didn't have a whole lot of worst moments, to be quite honest with you. I thought this was a very good year. Of course, we had some legends pass. Obviously, we had
Lots.
I believe it was Liam from One Direction, but he's not a legend. But like, I'm just saying that was random. Like,
I'm not laughing at.
I know. It's just like he's not a legend, but like that was just random. But like sports wise, Jerry West, Bill Walton, Willie Mays, all three of those passed. So those are three massive legends. You had more O.J. Simpson, and then younger Vontae Davis did pass as well. So like you had a lot of people who would pass. I thought a lot of the media coverage was up and down. There's some good media coverage, but I also think there's bad media coverage, and that's going to be every year. NBA All-Star Game is a problem.
You're regarding this about the deaths or just media coverage in general?
Sorry. Period. After the deaths. The deaths were covered properly because I don't think the media ever does really a disservice of that. Other than OJ, it's like a weird. That was a weird thing with OJ.
I'll say this real quickly because we didn't really talk about OJ's death on here. The day he passed, first of all, it was super weird, Keenan, because I was literally that week, I was in the middle of rewatching the OJ Made in America doc. And I just finished like episode 3 or 4. It's phenomenal, by the way. Like everyone should go and watch it. I mean, you get damn near every detail you can possibly get about the murder, about the case, about OJ's NFL and collegiate career, why he was such a big star, his post football career. I can't recommend it enough. Okay. I was actually watching that the night before he passed. So I wake up the next morning and I see that he passed and it kind of creeped me out. But the day he passed, I literally felt like it was, the day they read the not guilty verdict. I couldn't believe how many people were like coming out in praise of him or coming out in his defense and really like, OJ didn't do it when there's insurmountable evidence that he absolutely did do it. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with calling this man guilty, even though he was acquitted. That was a crazy day. It was a surreal day. I do want to say, I didn't include this in the moments, but it's one that I'll forever remember. It was unintentionally hilarious, Keenan, but BET Awards, every award show does this. They do in memoriam. BET Awards, they got theirs going on, and dead set in the middle, Keenan. I don't know if it's alphabetical order or what. I don't think it was, but out of the blue comes O.J. Simpson, whatever year to 2024. And the crowd just laughed because what else do you do? I don't think anybody in the crowd was expecting it, much like the viewers probably weren't expecting it unless you're looking for it. And so up comes OJ right in the middle of all that. And y'all can look this up on YouTube. People just laughed because it was funny. Intentionally or unintentionally, it was funny that they just threw OJ in there like, oh, by the way, old boy passed. So It was a good moment. I recommend y'all look that up. It was, again, unintentionally funny, but keep going with your worst moments.
So I was saying the legends passing period, media coverage of sports, politics. I think that you could go into like the whole voting and the presidency and how like obviously we know what kind of presidential campaigns end up becoming, but I think media coverage in general, that was definitely you could have the worst moments. The NBA All-Star game, I still think the All-Star, that still just bothers me just because I feel like these players should be just playing and have a sense of pride and care. So that still bothers me. J. Cole backing out of the beef because I mentioned it before, but it was the first time that we were able to like, okay, are you the best? You keep calling yourself the best. You keep acting like you're the best. Are you the best? And Kendrick said in Euphoria, this doesn't have to get personal. This is a friendly fade. We should keep it this way. Like he had that ready, all of the stuff he had ready. But
that's rich of Kendrick to say. That's rich of Kendrick to say. I will say that.
But I also think that at the same time, if Drake wouldn't have gone personal, I don't know if Kendrick would have. I think he may have keeping it there,
We knew
but
it was only gonna go one way.
it was only gonna go one way. But I think, I mean, he having 616, he was like, please don't do this. Like, it's not gonna be good for you, and he was right. But
It's just like that. Please don't do this.
please don't do this. This won't go good for you. And Drake's like,
But he knew
I
Drake
got
was
you.
gonna go for it.
And so he was like, all right. He's like, I warned him. I told him not to hit me. I continued to tell him not to hit me. He hit me, so I knocked him out. And that was that. And then I don't want to get into it, but I just have to say the word Diddy. And that's it.
Mm.
I don't need to get into it. Don't want to break it down, anything at all. And one boring thing was, I thought Meg and Nicki were gonna have a cool beef. Didn't have a cool beef. They just went on Twitter and were ranting, and then Meg had the hiss that came out, and then Nicki had a weird diss track. Nicki had her diss track that came out, and then that was nothing. I was hopeful that was gonna be cool because
I didn't even know. I didn't even know Nicki dropped a diss track, and Nicki.
We talked about it on here. I think it was just so forgettable because it was me and Brandon Petty talking about it on here. But like, we talked about it. But yeah, that was it. Diddy was the worst moment of the year, and I don't think it's really questionable. I just think that, like, you just set it off to decide that he's in his own category, just like Diddy.
I wasn't gonna bring him up, but I definitely have thoughts about Diddy and the case at large and celebrities at large. I do want to say about Nicki, though, I think if I put out a diss track, or let's say Trinity's a girl, Trinity put out a diss track, I think Nicki would respond if it got in the right hands. Like, Nicki wants to beef with any and every female artist, and I don't understand it. I guess aside from Ice Spice, because she did the Barbie song with Ice Spice, but it seems like every female rapper on earth, Nicki seems
any female rapper who is in Nicki's vein, like a
popular.
Okay, so they're popular. They're popular to people. They have sex appeal, and they're selling.
Not only that,
Lotto, Meg, Cardi.
It's a pretty popular thing in rap in general, male or female, to be like, in so many words in any song, to be like, I'm the hottest out, I'm this, I'm that, right?
Duh, that's literally the sport.
Even the worst rapper's gonna say that. Nicki seems to take direct offense to that when these rappers seem to be, probably generally speaking, she seems to take everything literally. Maybe I'll respond to Diddy in that whole thing, because I almost included it in my worst moments. I have a lot to say about that, and again, celebrities at large and other things that have to do with this Diddy case, but I don't think I'm gonna go there yet. Maybe we will. Maybe we'll talk about that in our future episodes in 2025. Mm-hmm. I got 4 moments again. Spirit of 2024. Got 4 best moments, 4 worst moments. 3 of these are gonna seem like super hater Keenan, and I'm sure there's much more I actually hated and complained about that I complained about on here. And maybe
foreshadow right now in 2025, if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, that will be in my worst moments. I promise you that. Going
depending, just, like especially if they win.
Anyway, if they just win it.
Well, I'm saying especially if they win like 17-15 and they win on like some bum ass penalty or a blocked punt or a blocked field, something like that. Yeah, you'll hear that. But if it's deserved, it's deserved. At least on my part. But 3 of my 4 moments are super hater. I probably could have dug deeper. There's probably other things on here that I've complained about more in depth, but these are the 3 I got. And 3 of these I feel like didn't get enough hate, really. Number 1, TaylorMade Freestyle. Hated it. Hated the AI version of it. Hated the Tupac and Snoop verse. I thought that was super fucking whack. And I'll say this. Then this is exactly what I mean earlier when I said, like, Drake seems so protected that he got away with bullshit. Would get away with bullshit, right? You can't tell me this. If he dropped TaylorMade Freestyle after Euphoria, or excuse me, after Not Like Us and after Beat the Grams, the response is much different. Not that it was a super crazy response from TaylorMade Freestyle anyway. It's not like it got like this grand response, but it got a positive response in general. People were at least on the side of, oh, that's pretty dope that he got AI, Tupac, and Snoop. I thought that shit was beyond whack. I thought that was the definition of whack, right? If you're gonna go get Snoop, right? Obviously, we can't dig up Pac.
Snoop posted Taylor made. I prayed
And
it was the edibles. I couldn't believe it. It was only right for me to let it go.
honestly, Keenan, the more I'm saying it, the more I think if he would have actually left Snoop off and it was just Drake and Pac, maybe it kind of would have been dope. But I thought the premise of it, having Snoop on there, who again is living, who you could have at least invited on the record, and he probably never would have done it, him being a West Coast artist. But I don't know. It was.
He did post it.
It was. Yeah, he posted it. Yeah. And then he
prayed it was the edibles.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I didn't love it, and there's probably more stuff I actually hated worse. But as far as the beef went, I hated that the least, or I hated that the most. Sorry, out of all the songs, out of all the moments, that part I was like, really, I don't know. This next one, Keenan, it's brand new, and it's actually pre-hate. It's pre-hate. Eli Manning is a finalist for the 2025 Hall of Fame. If he look, Keenan, I've thought about this many times.
If he gets in, Julian Edelman needs to be in, and Julian Edelman's not a Hall of Famer.
Time out. Before we even get to that, which you're right. I've thought about this. Like I've gone back and forth, and I've said it. Like Eli's, to me, probably not a Hall of Famer. But if he would have got in like 8 years down the road, 9, 10 years down the road, I probably would have been like, you know what? Fine. Right? If Eli Manning gets in, Keenan, on the first ballot, burn the Hall of Fame. Burn down the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Is Eli a Hall of Famer? Debatable. Which some would say if it's debatable, that means he's not. Right? Again, if he would have got in 5 to 10 years down the road, I probably would make less of a stink about it. I probably wouldn't say shit about it. If Eli gets in on first ballot, what the fuck is first ballot? And I mean that passionately, bro. Like, his brother is the definition of first ballot. Peyton Manning is, you ain't even got to think about it. He should have been, if they would have inducted Peyton Manning in the day after he retired, I would have said, okay. Because he deserves it that much. Could have inducted
him in after they won the first Super Bowl in 06, and I would have said, all right.
right?
I'm not even kidding by that. He had enough MVPs in the Super Bowl for the Colts. I get it.
Not only did Peyton Manning have a Hall of Fame career, he had a first ballot Hall of Fame career. And I don't know if Archie's in the Hall of Fame. I'm assuming he's not. Maybe he is. I don't think he is, but whatever. Eli is the definition of a debatable Hall of Famer. His career is literally 500. He never made an all-pro team. He's made a couple Pro Bowls. The only 2 times he made the Super Bowl, the only 2 times he made the postseason, he won the Super Bowl. Okay. What kills me the most about this, Keenan, that I've heard in the last few days since he's become the top 15 finalist for 2025, people are saying, oh, but he beat Brady and Belichick and the Pats. Everyone who tried to shit on this dynasty, which people did give it its props, especially once they won number 4. But man, you are almost like, by saying that, and I'll take it if y'all want to put it like this, but by saying that he deserves to be in because he beats Brady and Belichick, you're putting Brady and Belichick on like even a higher tier than the GOAT. If you're telling me that Eli gets in the Hall of Fame just based off Brady and Belichick, if we're gonna keep it a buck like that, and if we're gonna really slant it like that to where Brady and Belichick are on this God tier, which they are, but I don't think. I mean, if we're gonna put Eli in, does that mean Nick Foles gets in because he beat Brady and Belichick? Like, how far are we going with this?
And Rex Ryan should be in.
I mean, again, this is pre-hate, but the fact that he's even, and maybe it won't even matter because maybe he won't even be. Maybe he completely misses the ballot after the finalists, right? Maybe he's not even in the top. Because only 4 or 5 make it.
In the playoffs. He's 8-4 in the playoffs with 2 runs where he obviously won the Super Bowl, and he's literally lost 4 times.
That's right. And the other 4. So sorry, he didn't just make it to the Super Bowl twice, but the postseason twice. But the only time he's made it past the first round was those 2 times. So the other 4 times he was eliminated in the first round.
He has a career record
117, 117.
117 and 117. He obviously, the one thing that he was good was he was available. He threw 366 touchdowns to 244 interceptions, not even a 2-to-1 ratio. There's nothing about him. If you take away the 2007 run, because that was the more you beat the team. take away the 2007 run. Is he a Hall of Famer? I understand he did it, but like Dan Marino, first ballot Hall of Famer. No question about it. I understand, like, when you look at his stats, you're like, okay, towards the end of his career, he wasn't the same Dan Marino as he was towards the beginning of the career. But you think Dan Marino, and you're like, okay, that's one of the most talented quarterbacks we've ever seen. He had one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen. And, like, we just think, okay, he's the first ballot Hall of Famer. Fine. It's just these guys are instantly, if you have to think about it, like, really think about it, you're not a first ballot Hall of Famer, and you might get in, and you have to get in on a low year. Like
it used to be the rule was, or just the rule of thumb was, if you have to think about it, he or she is not. That used to be the thing. And Eli is the textbook case of if you have to think about it. And now the fact that he really might be not only first ballot, but people this past week have been like, oh, yeah, he absolutely should be. He took down Brady and Belichick. And their main course of it being Brady and Belichick is insane to me.
Burrow's already about going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He took down the Chiefs in the championship game.
Yeah, so, right. Yeah, exactly. Right.
So he's absolutely going to be first ballot Hall of Fame, of course. If Josh Allen wins this year, he's got to be first ballot Hall of Fame instantly.
Let me put it like this, though. It would be more like if Joe Burrow had a career-ending injury tomorrow, that he would get in off that Chiefs AFC championship win. That's almost like, you know what I mean? Because it would be debatable at this point. That's almost like what it would be. That's the closest thing I could say. But to really put it in perspective,
Kyle, he had a season in the midst. He went Pro Bowl 29-16, 26-15. In the midst of his prime, he had an 18-27 season, 18 touchdowns to 27 picks. He bounced back with 2 great years after 30-14, 35-14, whatever. You can't throw 18-27 in your prime and think you're a Hall of Famer. I don't care. That can't happen.
I'm quickly going to give you the argument for Eli being in the Hall of Fame, because there's no argument that he's a first ballot Hall of Fame. If he gets in on first ballot, Keenan, I'm going to lose my mind on this podcast in a way you've probably never seen. And it's probably for the most, I mean, that's ridiculous to say. I'm a grown ass man.
I'll be right with you. But I'll be literally right with you.
I couldn't believe that he was a finalist for first ballot, but I couldn't believe that like people were like, yeah, no, Eli should be first. I couldn't believe it. Here's the arguments for it. He's top 10 in basically every major passing category. Along with those postseason runs where he defeated Brady and Belichick in 2007 and 2011, he also defeated a 15-1 Aaron Rodgers led Packers team. He defeated a 13-3, I believe, Cowboys team in 2007. So he defeated real teams. And don't get me wrong, Eli, Eli can run a 2-minute drill. Don't get me wrong. Like, you don't want to see Eli in a 2-minute drill. He can beat anybody, as we've seen, 18-1, right? Like, no more evidence than that, right? Yeah, you got the Tyree catch. Yeah, Asante Samuel probably should have picked it off. Whatever.
Should have.
Eli, without a doubt, can run a 2-minute drill, and Eli, without a doubt, is clutch. Don't get me wrong. Eli even has some Hall of Fame ability in him. I haven't even said this, Keenan. I don't think I've said it on here. We talk about hype. Eli is probably the most hyped quarterback I've seen in my lifetime coming out of college. He had real true hype, and there was real, it was a real story, the whole him and Phillip Rivers trade happened. Like, that was a real fucking thing. Mm-hmm. So I say all that, but let me just say this, and this is, I truly, true to God mean this, Keenan, for all that, if you're a newer NFL fan, or if you weren't really cognizant of the NFL during Eli's prime, just imagine somewhere along the line, Keenan, Jameis Winston got one Super Bowl, let alone 2. That's exactly what it was like for Eli.
He somehow goes to the NFC and beats the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It's
somewhat similar to that. The only difference is his last name. Eli was super hyped, so people had this prestige about him, but it wasn't like he was underperforming as much as he was just super sloppy. When Eli was bad, he was all the way bad, much like a Jameis. And when he was good, he was Hall of Fame level good, which I'm not saying Jameis is Hall of Fame level good, but I mean, you did get a 35,000 yard season from him.
Essentially, Kyle, I'm gonna make this even easier. It'd be like if Baker Mayfield this year went and beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and then now Baker Mayfield's
I can't even say that because Baker does not turn the
he's
ball
good.
over. Baker has not
No,
played the low of lows that Eli. Like Eli,
you're
when Eli
no,
played
you're
bad,
right.
Keenan, it was horrible. There were
He's not.
if
Not a
Eli
Hall of
never would have
Famer.
won in
He's not
'07,
good.
if
I mean,
Eli
sorry,
never if Eli never would have won in '07, he wouldn't have finished his career in New York. He would have been out of New York by 2010. He would have been.
you can't be a Hall of Famer if you were never a top 5 quarterback in the league.
That's to some degree true. That's to some
No,
degree true.
you can't. If you can't say you were top 5 at the position while you were in the league, you're not a Hall of Famer. I'm sorry. Like that's just especially the NFL Hall of Fame.
That's to some degree true. That's to some degree true.
Like, I mean, if you're not even considered,
you got at least
5 best.
You got at least. Well, here's the thing about that, and I still got a couple moments here, so I don't want to get into it too much. But specifically that second run, and this was a big one on First Take. Like this was when First Take was still kind of cool, or it was cool. It was before they really started, getting to the Cowboys and Lakers and all that. The whole can you spell Eli or can you spell elite without Eli? Eli said it himself before that year. Why am I not talked about as an elite quarterback? Then he goes out and wins the Super Bowl.
Because you're not great.
So he technically might have been considered top 5 after that. But there's so much to it. But then he followed it up with such mediocre to pretty good seasons.
I guess someone would have probably called him top 5 because they would have been like, well, you have Brady, Breeze, Rodgers, Peyton Manning.
I do get what you're saying, though.
And then your 5th one, they would have been like, well, is it Big Ben? Well, is it Eli Manning? Is it Phillip Rivers? Is it Tony Romo? Because there was a Tony Romo
Keenan,
craze. Is it Matt Stafford? Is it Andrew Luck? Is it?
And Keenan, let me say that would be my argument to the whole top 5 thing, because there is nuance, is Big Ben. Big Ben might have here and there been considered top 5, but he wasn't consensus top 5, like when you had Brady, Rodgers, Breeze, Manning. And then it was kind of like pick your 5, you know what I mean? Because it was those 4 for sure. I can't say it was forever. Like, yeah, for sure it's Big Ben, and Big Ben's definitely going to make the Hall of Fame, as he should.
He had elite seasons, and he
sure,
was.
Sure.
I think there are multiple years he was a top 5 quarterback in the league.
But it was debatable. It wasn't set in stone. Big Ben is top 5. I will say that. Let me get out of this though, because I have a feeling we will be talking about it this summer, this spring, whenever they do their. Oh yeah, the end of the summer. If he can't get in first ballot. There's no way that's actually going to happen. Luckily for him, there's also some very worthy candidates. So, but from one hating moment to the next, Keenan. Bronny James, man. Bronny James. Y'all try to really make me believe that shit was cool. I mean, come on, man. That was so contrived. That was so... It was fake. It was absolutely fake. Bronny never would have made the NBA if he wasn't Bronny James, okay? Not this year anyway. Maybe 2 years down the road. But he certainly would not have made it. Scouts have been on record talking about this. The fact that, like, pre-draft, that was, like, one of the biggest stories was, like, where's Bronny going to go? Oh, Phoenix might take him. When they, like, damn sure we're never going to take him. Like, I could not believe how much how much people were treating that like a real thing. And then game 1, we're treating it like that's such a cool ass thing. Let me tell you, it would have been a lot cooler if 2 years down the road, Bronny earned his keep. I mean, I called him the Los Angeles Lakers intern on here, because that's basically what it is. Now, shouts to Bronny. What was it, last week or 2 weeks ago? We dropped 30 in the G League. That's great. I love that. I love that for Bronny. I'm not hating on him overall, but man, Clutch Mafia and LeBron James, I mean, they got what they wanted. They got what they wanted. And I even said on here, like, that's fine. I have no problem with LeBron getting his son in the league. We've seen that with J.R. Smith getting his brother Chris Smith, who had no business being in the NBA. He got him a contract.
Are chilling next to Giannis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thanasis for sure. But the media acting like this was like some great moment. Like, come on, bro. Like, we know what it is. And by the way, By the fucking way, Keenan. I want everybody to get ready for this because as it stands now, we are officially in 2025. The Lakers, they're either going to make the play-in game or they're going to outright make the playoffs. At the most, I think this team makes the second round, depending on the matchup. Most likely, they're a first-round exit. And let me prepare everybody for this right now. LeBron James is going to act, I think, like he did last year. He's going to act like he's going to think about his future and if he's retiring. I'm gonna spoil it for you right now. LeBron's not going to retire after the season. He'll be back next season. And Keen, let me give you this little nugget. Bryce, 17 years old. You don't think we're going to do this all over again with Bryce in 2 years? Bryce going to go to some, who knows where Bryce is going to go. My point is I could see all this happening again with LeBron and Bryce. And if it's just as contrived and if we're really like, people are outright saying like, yo, Bronny should stay another year or two, develop, and, you know, maybe he could have some pro chances. Like, and he was a one and done and he's on the Lakers, and we had forced moments early on in the year with him, specifically game one with him and LeBron James, whatever. I think we're going to get that with Bryce in a year or two. And yeah, I mean, come on, LeBron. I just think we're going to get this whole LeBron, Brett Favre type of ending to his career where he's going to be like, you know, I might retire. When, spoiler alert, he's not. LeBron's going to get every bit of his farewell tour, you know. I mean, I think we talked about this a few weeks ago.
When LeBron's retiring.
Exactly. He will let us know.
Preseason, we'll know when LeBron's retiring. That's just a fact of the matter.
He might yell it to us. And my last moment, Keenan, I don't want to get too serious. And maybe I won't because we still have one more category left to go. But I actually had the Democratic Party on here. And I'll just breeze through it quickly. I don't want to get into it. I didn't vote. Okay. I did not vote in the presidential election. We didn't even talk about the election when it happened, really. I think we might have touched on it, like said that it happened, but I don't think we actually talked about it.
No.
But from afar, just as an American citizen, like we are, me just watching Joe Biden's health clearly decline. Mm-hmm. And not just in 2024. Like we saw this in 2021, 2022. People were sending me clips on social media like, check out this that happened. That's kind of funny with Joe Biden. Like stuff that would happen to all of our grandparents when they're way past their prime, right? There's no shame in that. And the closer we got to that first debate that actually happened with him and Donald Trump, I remember being like, there's no way that's going to happen. Like, they're not going to let it happen. You know, me and my dad would talk about it. He'd be like, no, it seems like it's still on. And I'd be like, oh, there's no way it's going to happen though, right? And, you know, it got to 24 hours and it got to 12 hours and it got to 2 hours. And it's like, oh, this thing's really going to happen. And it went exactly the way we thought it would. And then we all see it happen. I think it took 2 weeks to a month for them to actually force him out of, you know, the running. And then they just throw Kamala Harris in there, which was not only not fair to him, but not fair to her. You know, she had 2 months for a full campaign. And they basically treated her, Keenan, like an option QB in the NFL. I forget who it was, Keenan, a few years ago when Zach Wilson, I think this was the year before Aaron Rodgers showed up. I think this was the year before Aaron Rodgers comes to the Jets and tears his Achilles. Zach Wilson starting. He goes out because he's playing terrible. And I remember on Thursday night, the Jets played some fucking option QB, and they literally like were running like they like never let him drop back. They were only either running with them or like making him throw screens or very basic actions. That was the playbook they gave Kamala going into this election. They didn't let her talk. They didn't let her talk about her policies. They didn't really let her say much other than like, you know, vibes type answers. You know what I mean? They very much wanted her to play well on social media.
They got her Meg.
You're right. You brought out Meg the Stallion. Yeah. I thought it was embarrassing to the American people how the Democratic Party tried to promote Kamala and tried to act like Joe Biden wasn't a diminished version of himself. I thought that was just embarrassing how they presented this whole election campaign. And again, I didn't vote. I had literally no horse in this race. Um, but just from afar, I'm watching that, and I just thought it was embarrassing how they conducted themselves, truly. So, yeah, those are my four. Again, I'll review them. I had, obviously, you just heard me talk about Bronny James, that whole draft process into his NBA career, Lakers intern. The TaylorMade freestyle with AI Snoop and AI Tupac, thought that was whack. The Eli, again, this is pre-hate, but the Eli Hall of Fame nomination where he's actually through to the first ballot, could get in on the first ballot. By the way it looks, it could be on the 2025 worst moments in review as well. And then, of course, as I just said, how the Democratic Party conducted themselves, especially in the latter part of 2024. Yeah, we still got a little bit left. Let's breeze through these last moments because we got into real discourse over our worst and best moments, Keenan. What was your favorite game of the year?
Favorite game of the year? I had a couple. I thought there was
you had a couple in their number one game of the year.
I really couldn't debate. And to be honest with you, I had a couple, and the couple was the Olympics, Serbia, or the France one. And I leaned towards Serbia because I thought the way Steph played to start off, they were down in the fourth against the best player in the world, and the way they came back and they won that game. That was one. And then probably two runner-up would be, for me personally, USC. Not USC, sorry. Iowa, UConn. For me personally, because the Paige, Caitlin, the way that game ended, even though I'm really upset about it, that was great. Obviously, the LSU was more of a spectacle, but I thought that game was well played. The way
it was a great game.
The way that they were defending Caitlin, So that would be my game of the year.
Well, my one game of the year, it was USA Serbia. It was a fantastic game. Serbia not only had no business being in that game at all, they had no business meddling. They had no business being the third place team. That's more props to Jokic, who we will talk about in the months to come for sure. But like you said, how Steph started off that game, as we mentioned earlier, he had a pretty bad Olympics, honestly, leading up to that game. And then he's immediately, as we can tell, on a heater in that game. He's going off.
He had a no-look three where he's high-fiving the bench.
It was peak Steph. It's exactly what you want to see out of Steph. But then on top of that, we're still behind. We're not really keeping up. Jokic is just – that's what I'm going to remember most, Keenan. Not only how LeBron, Durant, and Steph and Embiid closed the game, and not only Steph's first half, but just the actual fear that we might lose the game on top of like Jokic – I think you want to talk about Hall of Fame. I mean, there's that stat, and I don't know if I brought this up on the podcast in the past or if I brought it up a few weeks ago. I know we talked about it, but there's literally that stat of when Jokic was on the floor in that game, it was a tie game. And when he was off the floor, it was obviously a blowout in USA's favor. It shouldn't have even been close even when Jokic was on the floor. The fact that it's a tie game when it's Jokic and some NBA guys and some, by the way, literally.
Bogdanovich played very well.
Cool.
I'll give him that. Bogdanovich.
Sure. But Bogdanovich is the only other player on that team who has even a chance of being an all-star, right? Everyone else is either an NBA role player, an NBA has been, or just straight up one of the best players from Serbia who plays overseas. And, Jokic is unbelievable. He is absolutely unbelievable. He is, to me, far and away the best player in the league. And that only added to it. They had no business being in that game. They had us fearing for our life in that game. And that, to me, is the difference between the Serbia and France game. I never once actually thought we were going to lose the France game. I thought there was a chance we could go into OT, but I never really feared that we were going to lose that game. The Serbia game, it actually felt for 15 minutes of game time that, not only are we going to lose, we could lose decisively. We could lose convincingly. And then LeBron threw on his cape, Steph threw on his cape, Durant threw on his cape. We even got some big Embiid moments. We had Melo coaching on the other side. We had Steve Kerr coaching from the bench. We had Carmelo coaching from the other sideline. I will never forget it. That was an incredible game. Real stakes, real pressure. Not to shit on the gold medal game because there was real stakes and real pressure in that game too. But I really never felt like we're going to lose. And then, of course, as we mentioned earlier, Steph went supernova. So what a game that was.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. That was one of the best moments of my NBA basketball lifetime, watching LeBron and Steph, Kevin Durant all on the same floor. Obviously, we saw Steph and Kevin Durant, but not with LeBron. And watching them all play at peak level for their age was great.
All right, so Keem, we usually do 5 bowl predictions for the NBA and NFL. Mm-hmm. Shall we do 5 for 2025?
I can try. I can give. I have 3.
If you got 3, that's fine. We can go 3. But if you can give it to 5, I don't even actually have any written down, but I can give you a few probably.
I was saying I've got 3, and
okay. Let's do 3 then.
I've got 3. So one of them is I think that Drake is going to drop his best album within the last. I think he's dropping a rap album towards the end of next year, and I think it's going to be the best album probably since If You're Reading This Is Too Late, or if not Views, and it's not going to be received as such. And there's a reason behind it. I think that I think it's going to be official that Kendrick is the number 1, like official. I think he's going to drop very good music, and it's going to not be received as such. And I think that's going to be the testament of time that, like, okay, he's actually affected by this. That's 1.
Can I respond to
that? Can I just get my other 2 real quick? Okay, you can respond. Yeah,
let me because it's a quick response. There was a moment in our group chat with Brandon and Duke where I said there's 3 artists you're never going to hear from again as far as album wise, and I said it's Rihanna, it's Cardi B, and it's Frank Ocean. And you said something to the fact that like you think Frank will eventually drop. Mm-hmm. And my point basically was if Frank was going to drop, he would have dropped already. Like there would be no reason to take nearly a decade off, right? It's kind of how I feel about this, what you said about Drake. I don't think Drake has it in him to make a consistently great music. I kind of feel hypocritical because I've said time and time on here again that Her Loss is actually a great album, and I think it's quality, and I think that's the best music Drake's made in some time. But I do kind of feel like if he was really going to make a solo album worth listening to, we would have had it within the last 6 years. I think Scorpion's okay. I think Scorpion's like a good enough album, but I don't think it's like cohesive either. I think it's just a lot of great music on a project. Like it's an overwhelming amount of music, to be honest with you. But just to keep it concise, I do think if he was really going to drop something incredible, would have happened by now, and it's been too long. So keep going though.
That's 1.
Okay.
2, I think that this year's WNBA Finals ratings will be higher than the NBA Finals ratings.
I like that.
And I think it's because Caitlin Clark is going to manage to get her way to the WNBA Finals this year.
Okay, stepping on the WNBA predictions. Okay, all right.
The WNBA Finals will be higher than the NBA Finals. Okay. And I think it's going to be a real conversation around football time where it's like, oh, because I think we might get Oklahoma City and Boston again, and Shea's really good. Jason Tatum's really good. I think that would be a great basketball series, but I think they don't have the names. You got 2 guys that are – I don't think they have the names of like – if it was like a LeBron, Steph in a conference finals, I think that would do way more numbers than that. Not that it wouldn't be a great series, but I think that that's 2. And 3, this one kind of has to do with us. I truly think we're going to get a little bit of NBA All-Star buzz.
Like you think we're going to have a good All-Star weekend?
No, I think that you and I and our ideas are going to actually get a little bit of NBA All-Star buzz.
Okay.
I genuinely feel like the ideas that we were talking about and that we were doing, that we're going to get a little bit of push
Okay.
And it might not happen, but I think Adam Silver might have like somebody who tells him about it, like that kind of
That's
level.
that's a statement right there that I'm not gonna respond to directly right there, but that's certainly bold. That's certainly
That's my
bold.
that's my bold prediction.
I'll say this: I have two in the cut, and I don't really have a third. Like I put down
That,
five. Like I put down in my notes five bold predictions because I think we did five for NBA, NFL.
mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard. But I'll give you two. One that I've thought about, and I don't think this is super bold, but bold enough. I do think Kendrick will drop midnight after the Super Bowl. So Sunday into Monday.
Ooh,
I think that's when Kendrick drops his album, post Super Bowl
ooh,
performance.
I like it.
Number two, to keep it in the spirit, because we've talked about real life shit way more than I thought we would. And this is actually a super fucking vague prediction, but I think the biggest moment in American history since COVID will happen in 2025. That could be anything. It could be literally anything. Um, and you could even say, I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who would say maybe it's already happened. Maybe in 21 or 22 or 23 or 24. I don't think anything shape shifting has truly happened since 2020. I could be wrong. I could be naive. I think we're going to have a concrete moment in 25 where we're all going to look at each other and be like, oh man, we're really living through this, much like
Mm-hmm.
2020. Um,
Okay.
I don't have a third for you, but I'm gonna try to freestyle it right here on the spot. And it really depends. Am I going sports? Am I going music? Am I going culture? Am I going? I want to say politics. Am I gonna go like the American landscape? Where am I going with this? And we'll cut out all this time that I'm thinking right here, and I'm not gonna try to make it too long, but I wanted to say Keenan, and I don't. I no longer quite believe it. I wanted to say Tom Brady's going to come back, but I truly think that door is closed now that he's officially a minority owner of the
Mm-hmm.
of. You know what? Just in that vein, okay, I got you. I got you right here, Keenan. 2025 NFL season, Bill Belichick will be a head coach of somebody. Boom, there you go.
Okay. Well, this was fun. I'm very glad we were able to decipher all of this good 2024 stuff to predict for 2025. It's always good to look back. We're
Can I
gonna,
give you a UFC one? Just
yeah.
so we're on record, and this isn't bold at all because I've said this multiple times, but I just want to get it out there for 2025. Conor McGregor not only will not fight in 2025, we will never see him in the UFC octagon again. I don't think that's bold. But no, we ain't seeing Conor in 25, and we are not seeing Conor in 25 and beyond. He allegedly has an MMA, or no, he has a boxing match with Logan Paul that's set in stone for later in 25. Um, Keenan, great show. We did a 24
Absolutely.
slash 25 show.
Yep.
This was a lot of fun. We got between part one and part two, we dug into some. Wow, this is almost 2 hours. We dug into a ton of topics here, and I loved it. It was a great time. We even delved deep on topics I don't think we meant to dive deep on. So whether it was
Mm-hmm.
music, sports, or otherwise, we got into some spirited debate and discussion, and I love it. And I think we have a lot in store for 2025. I want to thank the listeners and the viewers for the continued support of our podcast, of our show, of our content. Keep following, keep liking, keep subscribing. Keenan and I very much appreciate it, and we have much more in
Absolutely.
store for you in 25. Keenan, if I hadn't said it already, Happy New Year. It's a lot of
Appreciate
fun.
you.
I will
Happy
see you
New
very
Year.
soon. We will be talking about Week 18 and beyond. We will be debuting my last version of the NFL tiers list, NFL tiers or NFL teams tiers list. You'll be getting the final version of that before we head into the playoffs. So great show. Great talking to you. It is officially now late, and I will see you very soon.
Absolutely.